Ever had that moment where you thought, man, life should really come with instructions? You're sitting there staring at your choices like they're IKEA furniture parts. Random screws, a wobbly plank, and a manual written in Swedish. That's pretty much life without guidance. But John 16:13 says something amazing. When the Spirit of truth comes, He will guide you into all truth. That's not just nice poetry, it's a survival guide for life. Now picture this. The disciples had been walking with Jesus for 3 years. Every day they could ask Him questions. Every day they could watch how He handled people. Every day they got answers straight from the source. And then suddenly, He's preparing them for the fact that He won't physically be with them anymore. Imagine the panic. You've been following the greatest teacher who ever lived, and He says, "I'm leaving." But instead of leaving them clueless, He promises that His Spirit will step in. Not like a consultant you see once a year, but a daily companion. That's the weight of this promise, that you and I don't have to navigate the maze of life alone. Think about driving in a city you've never been to without GPS. The street signs look like hieroglyphics and you're just guessing which turn to take. You end up lost, maybe stuck on a one-way road going the wrong direction. That's what life feels like without the Spirit. Now imagine the other side. You've got GPS, but not the annoying kind that yells at you when you miss a turn. This one recalculates, adjusts, and patiently brings you back on track. That's what it means to be guided by the Spirit. He's not standing there with folded arms, rolling his eyes every time you mess up. He just says, recalculating, and keeps you moving toward your destination. That's grace in motion. And let's clear something up. When this verse says the Spirit leads us into all truth, it doesn't mean you suddenly download the answers to your math homework or get insider tips on next week's lottery numbers. The Spirit isn't a cosmic Google search bar. The truth He guides us into is the truth of who Jesus is, what He taught, and how it applies to the real choices we make every day. He's not inventing new doctrines. He's not creating secret updates. He's making sure we don't forget, misinterpret, or water down what Jesus already gave us. Think of Him as the ultimate translator, taking what Jesus said and making it click in your heart right when you need it. And that guidance doesn't always come with thunder or flashing neon lights. More often, it feels like those subtle nudges you only appreciate later. You know the ones. You're about to say something harsh in the middle of an argument, and suddenly something inside you says, "Don't." You hit pause, bite your tongue, and later realize you avoided making the fight 10 times worse. Or maybe you feel an urge to call a friend out of nowhere, and when you do, they tell you they really needed to hear from someone right at that moment. That's not a coincidence. That's the Spirit quietly steering the ship. And the best part? It's not reserved for spiritual elites. This isn't a VIP Christians-only deal. It's for anyone willing to listen. Honestly, I've felt it in the smallest ways. Sometimes I'll be writing, and there's this nudge to phrase something differently. Later, someone tells me that exact line was what hit home for them. Other times, I'm about to hit send on an email I wrote in pure frustration, and suddenly there's this heavy stop sign in my chest. Don't do it. I delete it, cool off, and realize I dodged a disaster. It's like having a best friend who keeps you from sabotaging yourself over and over again. That's what it means to be led into truth. It saves you in ways you don't even realize at the time. But let me be real. Truth isn't always cozy. Sometimes the Spirit shines a spotlight on stuff you'd rather keep tucked in the dark, like realizing you're holding on to bitterness, or that your priorities are upside down, or that you've been chasing people's approval instead of living free. That revelation doesn't feel warm and fuzzy in the moment. It stings. But it's like going to the dentist. Nobody enjoys it when they point out the cavity, but getting it fixed saves you pain down the road. The Spirit does the same thing. He points out the hidden decay not to shame you, but to heal you. And isn't that exactly what we need in today's world? Look around. Everybody's shouting their own version of truth. Scroll through social media for 5 minutes and you'll see 10 different takes on the same issue, each claiming to be the ultimate answer. It's exhausting. but the Spirit cuts through that noise. He doesn't deal in half-truths or trendy sound bites. He's not out here trying to win debates or chase clout. His only agenda is pointing you back to Jesus every single time. And in a culture built on confusion, that kind of clarity is priceless. Here's another thing worth remembering. The Spirit never contradicts Scripture. If you hear some voice telling you to do something that flat out clashes with what Jesus already taught, that's not him. The Spirit doesn't freeload new rules into the system. He stays consistent with what's already been revealed. That's why staying anchored in Scripture matters so much. It tunes your ears to recognize his voice. The more familiar you are with the Word, the easier it is to say, "Yep, that lines up," or "Nope, that's way off." He speaks the language of Scripture, and when you learn it, the conversation flows naturally. Now, even though his guidance is personal, tailored to your personality, your circumstances, your journey, it's never private in the sense of being isolated. What he speaks to you always harmonizes with the bigger story of God's work in the world. He's not handing out secret codes for solo projects that ignore the family of believers. So if someone ever comes to you claiming the Spirit told them something that completely contradicts Jesus' character, the cross, or the community of faith, you can bet that's not the Spirit. He doesn't freelance. He harmonizes. And let me tell you, sometimes following the Spirit looks kind of funny to outsiders. You'll find yourself making choices that don't add up on paper, like giving up your Saturday to help a neighbor move when you had plans to binge watch, or forgiving someone who clearly doesn't deserve it, or offering encouragement when sarcasm would have been way easier. From the outside, it looks upside down, but inside, you feel the peace. It's like those awkward trust fall exercises. Leaning back feels crazy, but once you're caught, you realize it works. Following the Spirit feels exactly like that. It's awkward trust that leads to surprising peace. If you think about the first disciples, they're the best example of this promise in action. These weren't scholars. They weren't celebrities. They were fishermen and tax collectors, ordinary folks. And yet, after Jesus left, they became bold world changers because the Spirit led them into truth. They wrote letters that still shape us today. They faced prison and persecution with courage that wasn't natural. It was Spirit-fueled. And if the Spirit could guide them through betrayal, prison cells, shipwrecks, and even death, then he can guide us through traffic jams, breakups, job stress, and the 1,000 little dilemmas that make up modern life. Day to day, being led by the Spirit doesn't mean floating through life with mystical visions every 5 minutes. It looks like small, steady choices. It looks like slowing down enough to notice the nudges. It looks like whispering, "Spirit, lead me today," and then staying open to however that guidance comes. Sometimes it's conviction. Sometimes it's an unexpected peace. Sometimes it's Scripture suddenly feeling like it was written just for you. And sometimes it's a friend's words hitting you like a ton of bricks. None of it is random. All of it is guided. And maybe you're thinking, "But I don't hear anything." Don't panic. Guidance isn't always a dramatic voice from the sky. More often, it's only clear in hindsight. You look back months later and realize, "Oh wow, I was being led all along." Other times, it's just that calm in the middle of chaos, that sense that even though everything around you is shaky, you're not falling apart. That's the Spirit. Trust that He's at work even when you don't feel it. And when in doubt, return to Scripture. That's always His favorite way to speak. So where does that leave us? John 16:13 isn't just a verse to memorize for Sunday school. It's an invitation to a lifestyle, to walk each day knowing you've got guidance, correction, encouragement, and clarity from someone who actually knows what he's doing. In a world that feels like it's constantly shifting, that anchor is priceless. It's like finally having the instruction manual, but not one that just tells you how to build a bookshelf. This one shows you how to build a life. So maybe today, just pause and ask yourself, where might the Spirit be nudging me right now? Is it in how I treat someone? A decision I've been dodging? A truth I've been afraid to face? Don't ignore it. Lean in. Trust that guidance. Because life's too complicated to do on your own, And the good news is, you don't have to. And hey, I'd love to hear from you. Share in the comments a time you felt guided, even in a small, ordinary way. Let's learn from each other, because we're all walking this road together. If this spoke to you, take a second to like the video, share it with someone who might need the reminder, and subscribe so you don't miss the next one.